Good evening and welcome to Chatbox with Sam. Tonight's guest is actor and writer Marc Sheffler. Good evening, Marc. How are you?
Good evening, Samantha. Thank you so much for having me. Give me something to do on this Friday night.
Oh, and we're honoured that you attended the show. I was excited about meeting you because I love to talk to writers because without the writer, and the imagination, there'd be no film, there'd be no industry, there'd be nothing.
My name is I'm a member of the Comedy Store's class of '77 with Robin Williams and Jay Leno and David Lowe and those guys. And my name has been on the wall of the Comedy Store in Los Angeles for over 40 years. And when Mitzi put it up there, she spelled my first name Mark, and I just let it go. She's the only person I've never. Usually, I'm very fastidious about that. I
Yeah.
correct people. I never said a word to her. I didn't want her to rethink this. I didn't want her to rethink maybe she made a mistake. Maybe my name doesn't belong up there. I just didn't want to poke that bear. That's the only place I've allowed my name to appear spelled. My first name is spelled Mark.
Well, you'll definitely see it on the show as MARC. Oh, so do you know Rick Overton? Have you met him?
Yes, I do.
Hmm.
I have known Rick for many, many years.
Yeah, I've met him a few times. He's a lovely gent.
The
Yeah.
guy, great comedian, very talented actor, but a good guy, real good guy.
If you were to encourage the younger generation, what would be your main focus?
Find something in life that you really love doing and concentrate on that. Try to merge your love, something that you love, with making a living.
And what about the writers out there? What advice would you give to them?
Well, for the writers, those people who really have a passion to write, I would say also write your experience. Write. Take a lot of notes in life and write about your life and characters and people, and understand it's a journey, and write journeys for people.
What inspired you into this career, into the industry within writing?
Well, I didn't start out as a writer. That I became a writer at some point. Um, what started me out was when I was 10 years old. I was raised by a single father, an aluminum siding salesman who was a very out of the box character. And when I was 10 years old, my father came to me and said, "Well, you're 10 years old, double digits, big deal. What do you want me to get you? I get you something really special for this birthday." So I said, "The Three Stooges," and he got them for me. He hired them to perform at my 10th birthday party. I threw a party for me in a nightclub in the afternoon on a Saturday.
Oh,
And that picture behind me right there is me and the Stooges.
Stooges.
Yeah. And what happened was we had about 60 people, kids, my friends and their family. And I'm still friends today with some guys who were at that party. So in the middle of the show, Mo says to the audience, "Well, we're here to celebrate Mark's birthday. Where's Mark?" I raise my hand, and he says, "Mark, come on up on the stage with us." So yeah, okay, sure. So I run up on the stage, and I knew if I watched their stuff like for years, I knew all of their material. So I started interacting with them
Hmm.
rather fluidly, and so much so that a few minutes later, Mo stops it again, puts his hand on my head, and says, "I dub you the fourth Stooge." And at that,
Oh,
yeah, see that you just did, right? Okay,
yeah.
so times that by 60 with applause and laughter, and here I am at age 10, standing on a stage with a microphone in my hand, surrounded by the Three Stooges, hearing all of that and laughter, and I get this buzz, this warm kind of, from what they say, it's what it's like when people are smoking opium. This thing that came over me, this embrace, and I said,
Oh.
"Oh shit, this feels really good. I want more of this." And yeah, this is nice. So that was probably the day that I said, "Yeah, I'm going. This is where I'm going."
Oh.
I'm chasing this dragon one more time for the rest of my life. So that's what it is, and that's pretty much what it feels like being on stage and doing any of this. It's just a buzz. It's just
It is that
yeah,
warm feeling that you want back again.
yeah. So that's how I got. I guess that's what set the direction, the course,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest of it was mostly just dumb fucking luck. Uh,
Well,
no,
that's good luck.
it, it is. It's like like I about speaking like luck. Last House on the Left, fucking luck. A piece of shit $90,000 slasher movie ends up being
Big
the
thing.
first film of a major director and a cult classic and is still around.
Mm-hmm.
And I do at least 3 podcasts a week because people want to talk to me about Last House on the Left.
Really?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I mean, I watch them around the world too, just not just in the United States.
And that was in 1972. That movie came out.
Yeah, 71, 72, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just luck how I became a writer. I mean, come on, I'll tell you the story. Last House came out, and uh, I was exposed to what it's like to be one of the lead actors in a very popular film. So the production company sent me back to Pittsburgh, where I grew up, to do some publicity and to attend the premiere there, where it was opening. And interesting that there were several girls from my high school graduating class who, a scant 3 years earlier, wouldn't give me the time of day, were now offering me a whole lot more than the time of day. and, and I thought to myself, huh, okay, this is a good career decision because all I have to do is basically nothing. And so that lasted, for the rise and fall of Last House on the national film scene.
Right.
And that life, that fascinating life that I had for maybe about 6 weeks, just went away. It just vaporized, right? So I was on a commercial audition in New York for a guy I had auditioned for, a lot, and I nothing was happening. I was like gone. So I'm at a party one night, and I see a guy, kind of like me, average looking guy, talking to some beautiful model looking woman, just fucking gorgeous. And I kind of mosey over to them, and I hear the guy saying, yeah, so I'm working on my first draft, and I have an agent out in California, and as soon as I'm finished, we're going to go pitch it. It's a genre film, it's a genre, and I think that I've got, I got some characters. And so he's talking about writing, and she's just wrapped up in it, man. She's just whoa, like, and they end up leaving together. So I thought to myself, it was like an epiphany. I said, shit, I can do that.
I was just thinking that.
I could tell girls.
I want to do that.
Yeah, I could tell girls I'm a writer. I'm an actor. I could act like a writer. So I went out and I bought a bunch of books on screenwriting and, learning about it, buzzwords like plot and narrative, and Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, rising action, the inciting incident. I learned all these words, and I would go around to parties, and after a few times, I had this rap down, and bing bangity boom, it was perfect. So now I'm in this audition at Lee Lacey's place in New York, and I'm doing this to some girl in the waiting room, who's also there auditioning, and it's working. It's just work. And I feel a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and it's Lee, the guy who owns the company, the director. He's a very famous commercial director, and he said, "Hey, listen, I overheard what you said. I have an agent at William Morris in Los Angeles. I really want to read that script, and I'll get it out to him. Maybe we can do some business together." I took him aside and I said, Lee, we're friends and I want to work for you. So I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm totally full of shit. I just, I tell girls I'm a writer. They get really impressed. Things happen. It's easy. So he looked at me and he said, does it work? I said, all the time. And he said, my boy, you're an idiot. I like you a lot, but you're an idiot. And I said, what do you mean? He said, if you can get women to take their clothes off by things you're saying, you're using that ability for the wrong purpose. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that can't be the whole goal. You actually
I don't know. How old were you? That testosterone is pretty powerful.
I was like 23 years old. It was like right after Matt's house, 21 years old. So I was very young. I was, completely running on testosterone. Exactly. So completely. So he said to me, and he was much older than me, right? And he was like an older brother character. We became friends. He'd hired me a couple of times. We became friends. He liked me. So what ended up happening was, at his request, I wrote the script that I was bullshitting about, right? Mm-hmm. And he did give it to his agent in Los Angeles, who then sold it to NBC. And I get a call from him. Yes, I get a call from him one day saying, hey, you want to move to LA? And I said, what are you talking about? He said, we just sold your script. And I said, yes. So, what? So, yeah, so like again, I my odd career. I had been here before at his office on work because I ended up working for him, doing, developing some things for him. Yeah. And this was part of what we were doing. But he sold it. So the day I moved to LA, unlike most people, who come here and have to start out, and I landed at LAX. I had a car, I had an apartment, I had a bunch of money in the bank, and I had an office on Melrose Place, and I had William Morris as my agent. Awesome. So the day I landed, right, that's what I walked into. So it's been kind of uniquely lucky for me. I love it. Los Angeles, a lot of people tease about it. I love it. Even though I split up my time, we're at the house in India now, but we have a little place in LA we keep. I love Los Angeles. And I love it because it's been really, really good to me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't come here trying to, break into it. It reached out and grabbed me and pulled me into it.
It's meant to be.
I have a different relationship with it. Well,
that's good. That's good because you're now talking about the positive,
Yeah.
Because I know it's a very difficult industry to be in for most people,
It is. It
just
is.
Work hard and carry on.
Yeah, I've been like Lee has an office or had an office when he was in business in London, and I lived at that place for a while on Lee's Place between Oxford and North Audley Street. So I've just right by Grosvenor Square, right by the.
I was just thinking by Grosvenor. That's where the embassies are. Yes.
Yeah, right by the American Embassy in Grosvenor Square.
Yes, it is by the American Embassy.
So I just had a great time. I quit college in 1969. Yeah, I was going to Louisiana State University, and I just had enough of it. I've been there for about a year and a half. I said, fuck it, I'm bored as shit, So I had 3 life goals in mind, just 3. Looks like 4, but only 2. I wanted to remember I'm not 19. I wanted to smoke as much marijuana as possible. Okay, and I still do. And I wanted to sleep with as many different women as possible.
Oh my Lord!
And I wanted to make just enough money to afford the weed and the women. Okay, I figured that was a pretty, I wasn't being greedy. I just, I wanted.
What about the pubs? They've got loads of awesome pubs in London.
Yeah, but it's my life was in LA. My life was mostly in LA. Although through New York, I spent a lot of time in New York. But But I look back on my life now, and with those three life goals, I have greatly exceeded my own expectations. You know, I've had an actual career when all I
Yeah.
wanted was a party. You know, my other goal was that I always wanted to live my adult life like a teenager with a really big allowance. You know, so
Oh, awesome.
and I've also that I've been able to do, and that's pretty trippy when you think about it. You know,
Yeah. When you were visiting London, I was just being born in 1969, December.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was there 72, 73, 74. I think I was there.
Mm.
And then 70, and then in 76, I moved. We sold the script in 76, and I moved to LA.
Awesome. So I know you wrote Who's the Boss? Sister,
Did
Sister.
did
You did, and you were in Chaos in 2002. How Bugs Bunny won the West.
yes. How about that?
Yes,
Oh, you want to know about that?
I do.
Um,
I'm
yeah. Okay. So
intrigued, actually.
okay. All right. So the way it works when you're a young writer in town and you've got representation, which means you've got either a really good agent or an agent and a manager. So I had both. I had an agent at William Morris from the film sale, and then because of what I was doing at the Comedy Store, I had been approached by a really well-known management firm who mostly had TV writers and actors, Marty Litke. You know, they had a ton of really working, really like Valerie Bertinelli they had, and, you know, Doris Roberts they had, and a bunch of producers. And so they took me on as a client. So what happens is they'll send you around to meet producers ahead of pilot season. So there's pilot production season and there's pilot writing season. In 76, right before the next pilot writing season, they sent me around to meet a bunch of people at the studios and the networks. And one of the places that they sent me to was Warner Brothers, because my agent at the time, Jane Sindel, was good friends with the development people over there, in particular, a woman by the name of Beth Uffner, who then became a partner as an agent in Gilder Curlin Webb and Uffner, the agency. So Beth liked me, and she said, "Okay, we'll look for something for you." And one day I got a call from Jane who said, something like, I said hello, and she said, "What's up, Doc?" And I said, "What? What do you mean? What's up, Doc?" And she said, "Well, how'd you like to write a Bugs Bunny special?" I said, "Yeah, what the fuck, okay." So I had to go in and meet a guy named Frank Barton, who was the president of Warner Brothers TV, and get his okay. They set the meeting. I went into the meeting. Everything was fine. He okayed me. And the next thing I know, I'm in a meeting with the Bugs Bunny guy, a guy named Hal Gear or Hal Greer. I'd have to look at the credits. Probably Hal Greer.
Mm.
He was the guy who ran. He was in charge of like Bugs Bunny, Yosemite Sam, like 6 characters, and he had life-size plush dolls of these like cosplay things.
Oh, awesome.
It was very freaky though, It was really freaky to go in, and he would refer to them as if they were live action actors.
Really?
So yeah, so I had to sit at Warner Brothers every day for about 2 weeks in a screening room and watch like 150 Bugs Bunny cartoons, and then pull out the footage that I wanted to use and then craft a story around it. And then hired Denver Kyle, this cowboy actor, and shot the live action interstitial stuff on Western Street at Warner Brothers. So that was pretty fun.
How did you find the acting? Was there any part that you played that you could see your own personality within that role?
Not one. No, I always play weird people, junkies and psycho cops and shit. No, there's not any part of me that's like those people. Nothing. It's all fake.
You're the only one that said that.
When I played junior in Last House, I knew enough to go to Needle Park in New York, in Manhattan, and hang out and watch and look at people. And then I just smoked a lot of pot during the shoot. And Wes would say, "Hey, I need you to walk from here to there and stumble." And I'd say, "Hey, no problem." What's that, Wes? Oh, fucking great, man, great. But I worked on the People's Choice Awards 2 years in a row. I have a funny story to tell you if you'd like to hear it.
I would.
Okay, so my first wife was a manic Anthony Hopkins fan. Like fucking Silence of the Lambs, Anthony Hopkins, God, right? So I'm working on the People's Choice Awards, and Don Misher, the executive producer, lets us know that, hey, we got Anthony Hopkins is going to present for us, so we have to write something for him. So every day Don would come in and tell Sam and me, the late great Sam Denoff, my partner, who was booked. So I go home and I tell my wife, my first wife, I said, hey, listen, Anthony Hopkins is going to be on the show. So she said, oh, you're going to take me? You're going to take me? Yes, I'll take you. Get you a picture or something. I'll take care of it. All right, so cut to the night of the show. We're sitting, the family, Sam's wife and guests are all at a little eight-top round table right by the stage at Universal, on the stage, but right by the backstage area. So there's easy access. So they're all sitting there, and I think Jan, her parents had them come in. They wanted to be there. So we're all sitting there. So I'm in the green room, and the green rooms for these events, for these award shows, are just like these massive areas where they're bars and it's like a restaurant. It's like a lounge, right?
Right.
Get everything but music. And the only reason there's no music is the noise. And it's literally like a Hollywood party because the actors are in there and they're hanging out before. So it's if you're into celebrity thing, it's like it's like an overload. But I was there working and doing my thing. So I found myself at the bar, and that night, for that particular People's Choice Awards, we were doing a tribute to Spielberg, right? So I had worked on Harry and Henderson, so we had meetings. Sam knew Stephen and I, so we weren't strangers. So I'm in the bar, and I'm at the bar with Spielberg here, me here, Michael Douglas here, and Carol Burnett here. We're all talking, right? We're all talking, and moment later, I see out of the corner of my eye, Paige come in, and Anthony Hopkins is with him. So one of my roles was as writer / co-producer was that I would, on show night, since I was writing a lot of what the actors were saying, I was always dealing with them. They would come and talk to me immediately. Right. So the page I see the page points to me, and Hopkins comes walking over to me. He sees Spielberg and Michael Douglas, and they're all waving. And Hopkins comes up to me and says, "Are you Marc?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Tony Hopkins, pleasure to meet you, Tony Hopkins."
Oh,
and I stuck out my hand and I said, "Hello, how are you?" And I said, "Very nice to meet you." "Hello, Stephen. Hello, Michael. Hello, Carol. Nice to see you." I said, "Tony Hopkins, pleasure." Absolutely. So I'm thinking about my wife.
Yes.
But look, I got to ask you something, and I hate to ask you. My ex-wife, my wife wasn't my ex-wife. My wife is out. She said, "By all means, bring it back." And I said, "How did you know it was that?" He said, "It's always that."
Oh, we are so predictable, aren't we, us ladies?
Right? So I go out to the table, and I grab Jan, and I said, "Listen, you got to come with me." And she said, "What?" I said, "Something ripped. I need your help. You really got to help me. I need your help." Because I was going to set her up, right?
Yeah.
So I grab her by the hand, and she runs backstage with me, and I run her right into the green room. And she sees Hopkins, And she says, "You bastard." And hey, you wanted to meet him, and I told you I would make it happen.
Oh.
It should or get off the pot time, right? So she goes up there, she walks up to him, and to Anthony Hopkins' credit, he seizes the moment. "Ah, you must be Mark's wife. So pleasure, Jan. Nice to meet you. Tony Hopkins, pleasure." Right?
Aww.
And he takes out his hand, and she goes like all Ralph Cramden on him. Ha 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 ha.
Oh my God, you are funny.
Right. So now Spielberg is looking at this, and he's like this. He doesn't. So she ends up saying hello, nice to meet you. She's, yeah, but I take her back to the table, right? So now I come back in to the bar. Hopkins has gone off to dressing room, and Steven is there by himself. And I go back to the bar, and he looks at me and says, "Your wife enjoyed meeting him, didn't she?" And I said, "Yeah, apparently so." And he said, "What about me? What am I, chopped liver?"
Oh, Steven Spielberg.
I said, "No, Steven, you are not chopped liver. But you are not Hannibal Lecter either."
Yeah, he's amazing, isn't he? Well, what one gifted gentleman.
That's my one of my People's Choice Awards.
Oh, that's awesome, though. That's absolutely awesome. So I loved hearing about all that. I've had such a laugh tonight. You met Rick Overton. You must have met Robin Williams. God bless his soul.
I knew Robin. Rick was just, like all of us, was just another guy hanging out at the Improv back in those days. As was Robin before Mork and Mindy.
Yeah.
No, I got here in '76, and in the February of '76, became a regular at the Comedy Store in late March of '76, I think, somewhere around there. And Robin had gotten here a couple of weeks earlier than me, and maybe a couple of weeks after. No, I think a couple of weeks earlier. And we had Michael Keaton had been here a little bit, and David, when I got there, Letterman had been here maybe few months. We all kind of like got here within the same 6-month time frame.
Right. You're reminiscing now, are you, sir?
Well, it was an extraordinary time. I mean, the comedy bench was so deep that the number of major careers that came out of that generation. Right. Astounding. And that, I'm writing a book about my life and my career, and the title of it is "As Luck Would Have It, the story of me and my very successful mediocre career," and I've had on the world stage a mediocre career, but in reality, I've had an extraordinary time.
Amazing.
And I still do stuff. I've got one TV series that I'm trying to sell. I'm in business with my producing partner is a guy named Gary Hart, who was the president of Paramount. For about 13 years, Paramount Network Television, and we're friends since my Charles in Charge days at Universal. So called Those 7 Years, and it's a kind of edgy coming of age series that takes place in the 7 years. When I was 14, I lived, as I mentioned, I lived with my father, who was a single parent. Right. Well, he got married. Ended up getting married shortly thereafter. But so.
Where was your mum?
She was in Louisiana. My parents were divorced. So we were in the movies watching Jerry Lewis in The Nutty Professor, and at the end of the movie, and a little backstory. My father's cousin was the general manager for this huge movie chain. So we used to go to all these movies for free, the LA's family passes thing. So my father was like a really out of the box guy. Like he would tell me things all the time. Like I'd ask him about, can you do this? And my father would say, "Well, that's difficult. And difficult, I can do right away. The impossible, well, that takes me a while." So he was this very positive guy. Like, if you could dream it, you could do it. So, and that's kind of like the way I was raised. So I said to him, boy, it must be amazing to have that kind of job Jerry Lewis has, like in the movies. And my father said to me, well, maybe you'll find out someday. He said, you're funny. You make people laugh. You're good at that. Maybe you'll find out. So I was, I was like being realistic. I said, well, what do you mean? I don't know. And my father looked at me and said, hey, somebody does it every day of the week. Why not you? And I said, I don't know why not me. So we made this little deal, right? That one of these days, what's that?
I said, I'm listening.
Yeah, so we made this little deal, and that deal was that one of these days that I would star in a film that was going to be on this screen, because this was like the #1 theater in downtown Pittsburgh, right? This would be the place. So we shake on this deal, and then 7 years later, Last House on the Left mainstreams because of Roger Ebert's review, and it opens up in Pittsburgh at the Stanley Theater, and my dad and I rode there together in a limo. So it was we actually had that. So I have a series that starts when the promise is made, or the bet's made, or the deal is made, whatever you want to call it, and then ends when these two guys ride to this premiere together, and it's all the twists and turns in between that gets him from being 14, making this deal, to being 21 and riding in a limo on the way to the movie.
Oh, that's a lovely story. And the book that you're writing, have you got any idea when that's going to be published?
I'm like 200 pages into it with a lot of notes and stories, and I never attempted to write a book, and it kind of like scares me because that's like what real writers do, but I'm working on it. So maybe in the next year or so I'll finish it. I look back as I'm writing the book. I look back on my life, and I realize that if you look at you grow to a certain age, you're on one side of a creek, right? A raging creek, actually. And that's life, that raging creek. And your goal is to get across without getting killed, without drowning, without letting it sweep you away. And I've been just, it's just, I've been so fucking lucky that every time I needed a stepping stone to appear, like Excalibur, there it was, and it got me across.
And do you know what I think it was? Your attitude, your positive outlook and attitude. You believed in something, or you had a good attitude, so it came to you.
I never took myself seriously, no, I never, because
but things worked out well.
Yeah, but you see, I think of myself, I'm 72 years old, okay? I think of myself as the most immature 72-year-old adult male on the planet. And I don't say that to get a cheap laugh. I know what goes on inside my head, and those are not the thoughts of a mature person. I know mature people. I know what they're like. It's not me. My kids, to this day, my 3 children, who are now all grown, functioning, 2 of them are 3 are married adults, right? They'll look at me and say, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Oh.
They know. They long since.
Just say I'm not going to.
I mean, my body got older, sure, but my wife all the time will look at me and just say, you're a grown man. How can you do stuff like that?
Because my mind's still there. How has music influenced your life at all?
It's another language. It's I think the biggest way, to tell you the truth, is that it introduced me to the concept of like lyrical speaking, and that I hear jokes as music, and when I'm writing jokes at my computer and I'm hitting keys, I'll like bolt out a sound like I'm writing something, like I'm actually doing music. I hear the joke, the rhythm of the joke, and the only reference I would have is music. So it's taught me that there's another avenue of communication for humans that is a lot more subtle because the rhythm of a joke is the music that takes the lyrics, which are the words of the joke, and they work in concert with each other.
Yeah. So what music do you like?
I'm very
In
partial.
bands and groups that you listen to personally?
The Beatles,
Mm-hmm.
the Eagles, uh, Stevie Wonder,
Oh,
and Muddy Waters,
okay.
um, Alanis Morissette.
Oh, she's awesome.
Let's see, Nora Jones.
Nora Jones.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nora Jones. Um, who else? Rolling Stones, The Who,
Fleetwood Mac,
Fleetwood Mac, absolutely.
Stevie
Uh,
Nicks.
Stevie Nicks, Nick Fleetwood. There's some Broadway shows that I, can listen to over and over and over again. Um, it's pretty, then I could listen to, Pavarotti sing Nessun Dorma on a 24-hour loop. I could listen to certain operas. I could listen to Tchaikovsky. I could, you
Hmm.
know, I have kind of eclectic taste because, except I don't really have a country favorite.
Mm-mm.
Uh, I wish I did because then would sound much more, rounded out.
What out of all the charities that you could choose from, which one would you choose to advocate for and why?
Charity. Well, you're asking some good questions. Jeez, so one-dimensional. Jeez. Um, I tend to be a fan of charities that help underprivileged children because they're the ones who really need the help because they are the future. So I guess anything having to do with kids is okay with me.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of problems would go away over time if you had to have as much experience having to have children and be a parent as you do to drive an automobile.
Being a parent certainly doesn't, because I'm a
You need a
single parent.
license. You need a license to drive a car, but anybody can raise a kid, can have a kid, and unleash that human being on the world, right? If you
Yeah.
don't, and being a bad parent and not a good parent is like getting into a car on a steep hill, pointing it downward, putting it in drive, and then jumping out.
Right. Yeah.
I was doing stand up, and then my writing career took off, and then I met my first wife. But when we got married, I stopped doing stand up because I never wanted to travel. I never wanted to be like an absentee father.
Right.
I figured if I was going to have kids, then I was just going to be there. And
Oh.
I understand how I benefited in my life from having a father who, even though he was a character and didn't really realize it, he took parenting very seriously. And
Hmm.
he actually had things to tell me that were beneficial. He taught me a whole lot about being a father and what it really was and what it wasn't. You
Hmm.
know, so I wanted to give that back to my children.
Oh. And you probably did. You set a
Yeah,
good foundation. If you have
yeah,
a strong foundation,
yeah.
you keep that with you. Yeah. Thank you for answering that. So, how do you feel about what has transpired since COVID-19?
Well, I'm very sad for the people who didn't win the battle,
Hmm. Yeah.
for their families who never signed up for that shit.
Right.
Um, I'm a little dismayed, at the progression because my wife and I were very lucky because we were able, to just hunker down and and do everything that we were supposed to do.
Right.
We don't work and we're okay, and so we were able to I feel very badly for the people who the necessities of their lives force them to put themselves in dangerous situations. And before the vaccine, uh, when before there were even reasonable therapeutics, I mean, it was life or death. And there are people who are no longer with us who
Yeah.
made sacrifices, that other people benefited from, and maybe me. And but I think then you look at the progression. Everybody talked about, well, is there going to be a vaccine? Is there going to be a vaccine? And lo and behold, there is a vaccine. And I guess true to the nature of human beings, the nature of American human beings, the moment there is a vaccine, there's someone who's against it. There's someone who says, no, it's a conspiracy. No, what the fuck? You know,
Well, yeah, I got vaccinated and I just got over COVID actually. But mine was a variant, I think, because it was very mild, and I think a lot of it was because I am vaccinated. It was mild.
I have,
not the original one that came out, because that was a
when
deathly killer.
When COVID first started, prior to COVID, my wife, who's a Colombian woman, she and I were spending 4 to 6 months a year in Colombia with her family. So we'd go there and we'd come back for a couple of months. And every couple of months we'd hop around. So we got back here in mid-February of 2020, just as it was starting in China, right? Like by then, like I had heard about it online,
right?
About a virus in China that was interfering with some Apple issues, and I read that online. There was a virus at some factory outside of a city called Wuhan. This is back in early December, right?
Right, December 19, yeah.
Yeah, of 19. So I just kind of put it in the back of my head, and then things got a little worse. And we flew back to LA on the 16th of February, I believe, and they just shut down the flights to China from China, and a whole. So it was just getting started. We were supposed to go back to Colombia in late March. We were only supposed to be here for like 6 weeks. That all went to hell. Then the pandemic, got. So yeah. I talked to a buddy of mine who's an excellent comedian, but he's also a doctor in Chicago, and he's my age, a little younger than me, but he's been a doctor for quite a while. And he was volunteering in some ERs right at the beginning of the pandemic, right? So I called him up and I said, Billy, tell me about this. He said, better fucking take it seriously. He said, I'm seeing shit in ERs that in my entire life I've never seen. I've been practicing medicine in Chicago, and I haven't seen anything like this. He said the suffering that people are going through and what this virus is doing. This was like the original version, right?
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah. What this virus is doing to people is just, he said, and people are dying alone. And, I mean, he just went through this whole thing with me. And so I told Patty, my wife, I said, this is what Billy said. So that's exactly what we did.
Right, good.
And then we got vaccinated as soon as possible, and we're both double vaccine boosted. And listen, if they would let me, I would take every fucking vaccine they have. I would just say, just shoot up both arms. Give me the Pfizer, give me the Johnson, give me the AstraZeneca. Just give me every fucking vaccine that prevents this shit.
Yeah, you need to protect yourself. Yeah, absolutely. I think it did bring back some family values to people. It helped the ozone layer with everybody staying home. That started to heal itself. It showed you that we didn't need all them cars on the road, and proof that we don't. How when we don't have all them cars on the road, that it actually protects the climate. And family values came back into play a little bit too.
Well, I was, without any disrespect to anyone who has suffered because of this, there are some times that even in the worst situations, there are silver linings.
Yes.
For me, I wrote a lot of jokes that worked on stage. I've done one live show since COVID, and all the jokes that I thought would work most of them were about COVID, right? They work. And when I met my wife, who's this beautiful Colombian woman, she had very short hair, right? We've been together now almost 18 years, and for 16 of those 18 years, she's had very short hair. But because of the pandemic and our fear of interacting with people, she hasn't had a haircut in 2 years, and now she looks like she did in those pictures of her, because she's a former ballet dancer, and now she has this beautiful long hair. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so COVID killed a few 100,000 people, but my wife has long hair now. You know, so,
Ah, I'm sure she's
yeah.
beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Is there anything that no one has asked you in an interview that you would have liked them to ask you?
I've been very lucky. People who interview me are pretty come to the table, having done their homework. Uh, yeah, I would have to say no to cover the ground.
Well, you're a
You
pretty
know,
open person.
yeah. I mean, I don't. I'll answer just about any question. It's just any question that isn't embarrassing to anyone who isn't here to defend themselves. I don't trash people. That's the
Right.
you know. No, I don't do that. That's tacky.
Well, that's
I've had
good.
too much. No, I've just had too much fun. It's,
You just joke
I,
around.
yeah, that's like really. My first wife used to get really mad at me for that. I'd come home and I'd be in such a good mood. She'd be dealing with shit at home. She'd say, all you do all day long is goof off. And I said, well, yeah, kind of like what I do. I said, you goof off, you go to fancy restaurants for lunch, and then you come home and you want to goof off some more.
Well, I for one have really enjoyed this interview. You've made
Right.
my weekend, I'll tell you that, because laughter's really
Glad it
good for
worked.
the soul, absolutely good for the soul, and you've cheered me up and made me laugh, and I've really enjoyed speaking with you. Is there anything that you would like to tell the viewers? Any last words you would like to say to them?
Um, yeah, that understand that we're now in a phase of human existence that, for lack of a better term, we'll call Darwin 2.0. Darwin 1.0 was survival of the fittest. Well, Darwin 2.0 is survival of the smartest. And please use your brains. You got them.
Oh, thank you.
That's it.
That's awesome, Mark. And you are one lovely gentleman. And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for
My pleasure.
attending Chatbox with Sam.
Yeah.
So, and what are your plans for this evening? You doing anything nice?
She hasn't told me yet.
Well,
I'm pathetic. I'm just completely pathetic because that's the truth. You laugh because it's the truth. Because it doesn't matter what I want. But
sometimes we're bossy creatures, aren't we? We're just well organised, is what it is. Well
something?
organised.
Not that it's not that she's bossy, although she is. Um, it's just that she knows that I really love her, so I'm
Ah,
I'm so I'm so not oppositional when it comes to shit like that because I don't care.
yeah, we are the organisers. But that's awesome. Well, I wish you both. What's your lovely wife's name?
Patty,
Paddy. I wish you and Patty to have a wonderful weekend. You have a wonderful evening, sir.
you
And
as
thank
well.
you so much for attending Chatbox with Sam. God
Bye.
bless you. Good night.
Good night. you.